Pro-Life Jen. This is a new episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast and the How to Win This Week series. Today I want to talk about Post-Roe America. You know, this is like literally my favorite topic to talk about. I mention it at every single podcast. But recently at Students for Life Action put together a map for the pro-life movement to understand where we're going to have to work in a post-Roe America. Something that I've become increasingly concerned about and that I don't think our movement is ready for. Is the fact that when Roe is reversed, if the Dobbs decision reverses Roe, sends the decision of abortion back to states, the abortion lobby led by Planned Parenthood, this government funded entity that gets over $600 million a year from us taxpayers every year, they're going to be moving and shifting money from influencing these national campaigns to state and local campaigns. So your local House of Delegates member, state senator, who's might have an opponent every 2 or 4 years, but maybe they're not very well funded campaigns, are going to start seeing a lot of money being put against them. Why? Because the abortion lobby knows, as we will, that it's going to come down to the states until we pass a constitutional amendment to protect all life, which is ultimately our goal in the pro-life movement. I want to say that again because sometimes people don't know that's our goal. We will be working state by state to make abortion unavailable, as well as unthinkable. And so we put together this map. You can go to Students for Life Action's Instagram or Facebook. I think it's on Students for Life Action's blog, studentsforlifeaction.org or studentsforlife.org. It's on our blog as well. This map is really helpful. Memorize it. The way we broke it down, it's pre-Roe law that would ban abortion, trigger law that would immediately take effect once Roe is reversed, or an existing what's called a Life at Conception Act. And this is something that we've been working on at Students for Life Action, is going state by state to get these laws introduced, these Life at Conception Acts, which would ban all abortions in the state. Because, we're all about protection at conception, not simply trying to ban abortion at 15 weeks. We obviously support any law that will save any life, but that is not our end game. And so this map's really interesting. So, of course, you've got states like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, Utah, Kentucky, Tennessee that have some sort of trigger law already in effect, meaning that we believe when Roe's reversed, abortion will be outlawed in the states. You have states like Arizona, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Michigan, West Virginia, Georgia, and Alabama that have a pre-Roe ban on abortion. May or may not ban abortion. It kind of depends on the courts and how the courts rule if a pre-Roe law would still stand. We all know the abortion lobby is going to be doing everything possible to stop these laws. The Life at Conception law has only, though, been passed in 2 states, Arkansas and Alabama. You all might remember Alabama did this a few years ago. We were there. We lobbied. The legislators and the governor, K.I.V., came under a lot of pressure to reverse course, and they refused. Last year in Arkansas, you may not know this, we were key players in getting a Life at Conception law passed in the state. And we were really honored to work with the Arkansas State Senator Jason Raper on this, pro-life champion. And the law actually was going to die. And it was going to die because of pro-lifers who thought that, we shouldn't be passing this bill at the time. We should focus on another bill. And it was because you all and a lot of voters who Students for Life Action called and mailed and emailed and texted, who started calling their legislators, and then the governor that got that bill signed into law, meaning that this is now a law in the state. It hasn't banned abortion because immediately, obviously, the abortion industry stops those through legal injunctions. But when Roe is reversed, that law goes into effect. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today is, one, knowing where your state stands in a post-Roe world. You really need to go to take this map, save it on your phone so you know where your state stands. I mean, majority of states don't really have any. They have limited or no protection by law in post-Roe. I mean, and I'm going to name some like right-leaning states here, states where you would think there would be: Montana, Wyoming, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Indiana, South Carolina, Florida. We're going to come back to Florida. These are states where you would assume there was some protection, and there's not. So if you live in one of those states, you really need to be paying attention to this episode and get this map and get to your state house as soon as possible. Call Students for Life Action. We would be happy to activate the pro-life generation in your state to get one of these life at conception acts passed and going in your state. This is an important moment for us. And this is kind of my next point I want to hit. There has been a lot of talk in the news media about what type of laws we should be getting passed, this legislative session before the Dobbs decision. Should we just talk about 15-week abortion bans, which is what the Dobbs case is about, the legality of a ban? Mississippi passed to ban abortions at 15 weeks. Or should we, continue doing what we've been doing and advocating for since the start of the pro-life movement, which is protection of conception? As I said, I believe that, we never torpedo pro-life laws. If a law is going to save a life, we want to support that law. But unfortunately, some people don't feel the same. We actually saw in Florida, for example, a heartbeat law modeled after the Texas law, which I've already done an episode on how it saved lives and it's been revolutionary. There was a heartbeat law that was introduced in Florida, which was actually torpedoed by pro-lifers in Tallahassee in place of a 15-week abortion ban, which has exceptions so wide you can drive my RV through it. And so it was really discouraging to see that because one, my question is, why can't you advance both? Who says you can only pass one pro-life law a legislative session in your state house? No one. There's no law. It's just the politicians opposing this. We only will talk about this once type of thing. Who gives a shit? If you are electing the politicians and you tell them what you want them to do because they work for you. Never forget this. And by the way, just Students for Life Action has this whole real life politics training that we're going to be debuting. It's an 8-hour full day school. But it's real nature of politics. It's modeled after our good friend, Mike Rothfeld and his work in Virginia. But something you have to realize is a politician's not, no matter how friendly they are, no matter how wonderful they may be, they're not going to do things that are hard unless they're pushed and shoved to do those things. They're going to go down the path of least resistance. That's going to still get them the endorsement or the privilege to have a picture next to the pro-life leader in their state. You have to push them to do the hard things. It's like this in a lot of ways in life, right? To do the hard things, you need to be shoved, and that is what we need to be thinking about for these political leaders. And it was very discouraging to see what happened in Tallahassee. We've seen it happen in other states where we've attempted to get life at conception laws introduced, and we were told, no, just wait, we're just going to go for this bill. First of all, who says, why can't we do both? And I understand there's political realities where you may be able to get a 15-week ban passed, but you may not have the votes for life conception. That's okay. We'll get those members of the legislature on record voting against the life conception bill so we can educate their constituents, maybe primary. Some people that need to be primary who say they're pro-life are not very pro-life. It's a great way to get people on the record. But we should, as a movement, we shouldn't rush to the middle. And I think this is an important lesson for us. I'm probably making some people mad with this podcast, but that's okay. That's kind of what I do, I guess, sometimes with pro-abortion people. So why not pro-lifers? But we need to be careful not to rush to the middle here. Our movement has always been about protecting all children in the womb, no matter their age, no matter the circumstance of their conception, no matter their developmental status, no matter their genetic code. That is who we are. This is a tremendous moment that we're living in right now. It's a moment that we've talked about for a long time, but a lot of us didn't actually think. I think that this was actually going to happen. And we, as a movement, do not negotiate or compromise our beliefs. Politicians can do that. That's what they do. They have to come up with compromises to get laws passed, to get, a little bit of movement here. They have to give a little bit here. And that's the wheeling and dealing of, the political world. And that's the wheeling and dealing of the political realm. And that's on their moral conscience. But we as the pro-lifers, we shouldn't be rushing to the middle and say, okay, we understand, passing a heartbeat bill that will ban, 95% of all abortions, or passing a life conception act that will ban all abortions in Post-Roe America. That would be really hard for a vote for you to take. So let's just give you an easy bill to pass. That is, I truly think, misguided thinking, because we are leading a movement and we're running a movement, and movements don't seek compromise to the goals. Can you imagine? Just think about the civil rights movement. I certainly can't recall civil rights leaders, advocating on a national scale for, well, let's desegregate, schools, but let's keep lunch counters, segregated, or water fountains, those things that existed before COVID, segregated. That is not. Now, there were proposals, there were policies, there were things that were done in incremental steps, which had to be done because of the political realities of who you're going to get to vote. But the movement stays true to the goals of the movement and the mission of the movement. And that would be my kind of encouragement to you today, is when you start looking into, and you really should be paying attention to what's happening in your state house. What are the pro-life laws being introduced? Whether it's Students for Life Action is working on a piece of legislation, Human Coalition Action, if it's a Right to Life affiliate, or if it's a Family Policy Council, what are the laws being introduced? What's happening in the state house? Stay engaged, and remember, there might be a specific law that you're excited about. There might be another strategy someone else is excited about. You don't have to torpedo each other's laws. Like, that doesn't help, because we're all in this to win it. We're all in this to save lives. Speaking of saving lives, I want to just give you a really quick breakdown. Students for Life Action was everywhere this past week. We actually held 4 lobby days in 2 days. Our team in New Hampshire, believe it or not, delivered nearly 1,000 petitions for supporters across the state. New Hampshire, as you recall, defunded Planned Parenthood. Then the pro-choice Republican governor begged the state to refund Planned Parenthood, threatened the legislators, and they still haven't done so. They're holding firm. That has been huge. In Iowa, we were able to deliver thousands of petitions from actual constituents to key members in certain committees to move forward. We have a chemical abortion ban that we've been working towards introducing and getting signed into law, hopefully passed and signed into law. In Oklahoma, where we deliver over 5,000 petitions from Oklahoma constituents to key committee members to demand the passage of the Life at Conception bill there. So we were also in Florida. Students showed up. There's been pro-abortion forces showing up in Tallahassee, arguing and screaming and trying to stop the hearings against the 15-week bill. Students for Life and Pro-Life Gen showed up to support the 15-week bill. Even though we would prefer the heartbeat bill, we still showed up to support that bill and advocate for its passage, because we know it will save some lives. So it is, there's a lot we can do, and there's a lot going on right now. I hope you're paying attention. You're following Students for Life Action, our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter. That will give you up-to-date kind of information that's happening in your state. We've got a 50-state strategy we're deploying with lobbyists and grassroots activists to prepare for the Post-Roe America and to move forward legislation that's going to help fill in this map of states that have protected the preborn when Roe is reversed. So don't forget to go to studentsforlifeaction.org. Check it out, or studentsforlife.org. You'll see that map on the blog, or follow us on social media. You'll see it. It's incredible. Memorize it, get ready, and get to your state house.